I think China has the highest real estate entropy now in the world, right, worldwide, and they are actually more in even in the top 100, right? So he has $33 billion, right? Um, in real estate, right? So and not 4 years. So this is, like I said earlier, this is just to show us the acceptance of real estate globally, right? So this is for Africa real estate, Um, so sadly, African real estate is actually very, very on. It is on that tapped, right? It's on that. Don't let me use on tapped. It's tapped yet, but it's still under tapped because there are still opportunities for more development in the sector, right? When it comes to Africa, right? So it currently says that despite the world, despite its large and growing population, controlling about 15% of the world population, the gross asset of real estate in Africa is only 113 billion pounds. So that's supposed to be, sorry, 13 billion euros, right? So is that a pounds? Uh, that should be a pounds, what they call it, um, symbol, right? So that's 113 billion pounds, right? Um, and it's just actually occupying just 1% of the global real estate value. That's just 1% of it, right? So here we have the top five players in the African market, which Nigeria is the fifth position, right? So Nigeria was actually, I think, before second position, but due to the corona and recession that we have had in Nigeria, it has, had a very, very devastating effect on the, market. But we are actually going to, pick up back and, gain our spot. So because there are, a lot of um, massive investments, Nigerian space recently, right? So this is just showing Nigerian real estate sector. So it's for Nigerian real estate. Real estate actually is contributing. Sorry, is the fifth largest contributor to the country's GDP, right? Agriculture and service sector topping the charts. But however, real estate is actually the fifth largest contributor. You know, in 2020, the GDP of Nigerian real estate was 3.96 trillion naira, right? So the government estimates housing sector will be needing $400 billion investment, to resolve the country housing deficit. So, and this is actually where the opportunity lies, right? Because there's still a high vacuum, and it still need more players, right? So, and when a particular asset is underdeveloped, or developing, that is when you can, get more of the potential. And I can say, this is uh I think the crypto teacher will actually agree with me because when crypto was just coming up, you know a lot of persons are like we're not taking the chance to invest in crypto, but immediately it start booming, people start coming up. But whereas the people that the early adopters then were the one that reaped the more profits, right? So as of beginning of Q3 2021, more than $2 million were recorded in disclosed funding round by Nigerian prop tech. So when we say prop tech is actually it means the infusion of technology to property development or real estate development, right? So, for example, now people using smart gadgets in homes. So that's an example of prop tech, right? Like I said earlier on, I was involved in the development of an app that was geared towards helping people to save to own a property, at a particular period of time. So that's also prop tech because we are using technology to make sure that people access real estate better. So the fusion of technology and property or real estate is referred to as prop tech, and the prop tech startups actually recorded $2 million, which has increased drastically over the years, and this is just 2021. So this is just to show you the acceptability of I've shown you globally, I've shown you in Africa, now I'm showing you in Nigeria, right? So show that there is opportunity in this industry, right? It's not just there. It's not just It's not just one of it's not an hype actually. So these are the opportunities that are in Nigerian industry. So home deficit is actually on the rise, right? So this is just showing us that there's still a large opportunity in the market. It's not yet saturated like other countries. Places like UK, US, the real estate sector there is it's saturated because the landed property is no more like that. Everywhere is almost developed, you know, very developed, right? But for Nigeria, we still have some rural areas that's going to be transformed into urban settlement later, right? So this is just opportunity in Nigerian sector, right? So this is just showing us that we have large opportunity. There's still space for a lot of players, right? Whether micro players, macro players, there's still space. So challenges actually affecting real estate sector, high cost of construction materials, because we imported all those things in Nigeria, right? And even now there's even a call for starting to produce um, materials for construction in Nigeria. So I actually hope that the new government coming in will actually look into that because it's going to drastically reduce the cost of building and reduce the cost of purchasing property. So there will be more, more access to more access and more players because that's what we need in the industry. Right. So poor access to state land for mass housing, right? You know, surge. Okay, let me explain that part. Um in Nigeria, for Nigeria to actually close the deficits, I think currently we have 28 million or so, 28 million housing deficit, right? So for Nigerians to actually close that gap, we need to do what we call mass housing and not just single housing, right? So, but the access to land for mass housing is not there, right? And this is due to government policy. To acquisition of landed property is actually very very cumbersome in Nigeria right now, right? So if policies can be made to curb this, mass housing will actually start coming up and will be on the way to start closing the deficit. So surge in land prices, they're just increasing land prices, and this is just due to policies of government, for you to be able to buy land, um, register the land, do all those sorts legal intricacies of land properties and real estate. It is very cumbersome, and which makes it very very pricey. So we need change in government policies in the sector to correct that. No, and the other one's excessive financing costs, which actually means for you to buy real estate in Lagos, especially, it's very expensive, right? But there are areas that you can still get affordable options, but looking at the general outlook is actually expensive, right? So the other one is showing the same thing, expensive residencies, naira depreciation. Yes, that has to do with the economy, right? So once the economy is good, there's going to be also increasing the value of real estate in the country, right? So pure building quality. So this has to do with the recent collapses we have had, over the few months, even over these few months, not over these few years, and this is just due to pure poor supervision of the the how do you call it, the regulators rather, right? So these are challenges, but there are steps to abate these challenges already. You know, I can see them. I've in the news. I've seen them in the news. I've seen them on social media. Um, Governments are actually now being involved in they are actively involved in trying to curb the challenges. So I know in if not all, few will actually be eradicated right in the coming years. So this is not a scare for people that are trying to come in, right? Because it definitely is going to be attended to. It's just for us to to know and how we can navigate through them. So this is just Lagos real estate market. For Nigerian real estate markets, we have the top three locations for you to invest in for like is Abuja, Lagos, and Rivers, right? But for the purpose of this class, we're talking about Lagos real estate markets. We won't delve much into the other part of uh, the other places I mentioned earlier, right? Abuja and Port Harcourt. We'll be focusing mainly on what they call it, Lagos, right? So Lagos is the most active scene in Nigerian market and maintains the most properties in the country, right? This is actually very known. It's known to all, right? So growing from 1.4 billion inhabitants, 22 million, as of today. So you can see you know, we talked about the factors affecting real estate the other time. One of it is population growth, and I said it positively affects real estate, right? So you can see from the year 1950 to the year 2023, there has been a drastic, even an exponential increase in population, right? And which has actually given a positive outlook to the sector in Lagos State, right? So it is said that 86 persons migrate to Lagos every hour, 20,000 people every day, and close to millions, per persons every year. So you can see the statistics. People are coming into Lagos. The population growth is, like exponential. It's on the rise, high rise. Now, Lagos is actually the fifth largest economy in Africa. It is the economic and industrial hub of Nigeria. It's home to 2,000, over 2,000 manufacturing companies and over 2,000 financial. So, like I said, the presence of infrastructure, presence of population, presence of industries, and investment, whether foreign direct investments or even indigenous investment, right? These are factors that positively um, affect the 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 sector in Lagos, Nigeria as a whole, right? So whenever you are seeing that there is influx of all these things, infrastructure, industries, investment into a particular location at the early stage, is very good for you to buy or to be a player in that place, because once that place start springing up, it means what? High demand for it, and what? Also high increase for it. So what most people do, what most real estate investors do, is that they are always on the outlook for what location is currently having all these things, at the early stage. So that's one of the hack that is, that they use. One of the tricks that they I don't call it trick. I said, let me say hack, right? So it's like one of the hack they use to identify the next viable place to invest in when it comes to real estate, right? So 90% of um, Nigerians foreign trade flow happens in Lagos, right? So that means the foreign direct investment, right? You know, multinationals headquarters, they are mostly in Lagos, right? So one of the fastest growing megacities in the world, stable political atmosphere. So that means this simply means there's no too how would I put it? Um, I'm trying to look for the word. There's no too much of discrepancies in political atmosphere in Lagos. There's this political stability because there's there's been this continuity of political ideology in the state. So this is also an effect, a positive effect to you know to the sector, right? So fast appreciation property prices and has the highest property value and most vibrant real estate market in Nigeria. So these are just a few um, characteristics of the Lagos real estate market. So it's just showing some unpicked sub-locations in Lagos that are actually showing the boom. So we have the Koyi, which is the most affluent neighborhood, and it's also the most expensive estate in Africa. We have Ibejuleki, which is the new hotspot. We have Ekpe, you know, even the mainlands are there, but for the mainland, it's mainly for rental income. You just build to 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 rent out to people looking for out for accommodation. Right? But for these areas I mentioned, the Lekki and Ekpe, they are mainly for land banking. And land banking, although we are going to still be looking at what land banking is, right? So, but let me just quickly introduce what land banking is. So land banking is, buying properties or landed properties in particular that is just experiencing development, and keeping it for a particular period of time for you to appreciate, and then you can resell to a future buyer, right? So that's just also these places are actually good for land banking because they are still developing. But mainlands are fully developed. A lot of people come, like the population rise on mainland is actually on the high, you know. So there are less landed properties there, right? So which means they are at their peak. So it's not going to really appreciate like that. So what people do mostly is to erect buildings there and rent out for um, rental income. Right. So these are just places that are prominent in the real estate sector in Lagos, right? So this is just showing, hottest investment destination in Africa. This is Ekpe with investment topping $200 billion, right? So uh, examples are, the Lekki Free Trade Zone, um, the Dangote Refinery, which is going to be launched is 22nd of May, right? Um, Lekki Free Trade Zone, Lekki Deep Sea Port, Fort Mainland Bridge has been commissioned. Lagos Smart City, Lekki International Airport. These are investments I was talking about. Infrastructure investments by foreign and indigenous, organizations and corporations rather. Right. Um, Expected high demand for residential and commercial properties. Okay, this fifth after this one before. Beleki is the biggest job creation zone. You know, I mentioned employment opportunities as a factor that affect real estate um, um, growth the other time, right? So you can see that um, Beleki is going to be providing 3,000 direct jobs and 600,000 indirect jobs. Upon completion, right? So you can see that this place is a viable place because there's a estimated high, you know, um, potential for employment in this environment, right? So Lucky Dips reports, all these things are, you know, they are attractions, to invest in these areas that I mentioned in Lagos, right? So you can see there several things like Dubai or Africa is top Dubai or Africa. It has Alara City, which is going to be so this is actually a mixed use city. So both industrial, residential, commercial activities is going to be happening here, right? So Fort Milan Bridge is it that's also like infrastructure. So opening communities to each other access. So there's ease of transportation of goods and transportation of people from one place to another, right? Which is actually very very movement is actually a very very good indicator to invest in particular place, right? So you can see healthcare, um, you know, African largest food park and all those things. So these are just you can just go by them and also try and provide us links to read more about um, all this development projects ongoing in this in this facilities, right, in this location, right. So now let's talk about urbanization and effect on real estate, right? Now, so this is the process which cities grow, and a high number of population migrating to cities for their living, which in itself means that more areas is required for the living of those populations, right? So development of real estate is considered with the increase in demand for houses. So this just simply means that the movement of one of people from probably a rural area or even an urban area to another urban area, you know, leads to increase in population, right? So and that's how it works. Increase in urbanization actually means increase in demand for houses, right? Which also means was development of real estate sector, right? So according to UN, approximately 50% of the population lives in urban areas, and this figure is set to reach 65% in the forecast period, owing to the migration into cities that it turns into. So by 2050, the urban population is going to be rise. It's expected to rise rather by 2.5 billion, right? So there's still going to be increase in urbanization, which means increase in what demand for real estate, which means increase in um, um, which means increase in the demand for houses, which also means increase in demand for development of real estate. So you can see that even by 2050, uh, real estate is still going to be there, right? So far there is migration, so far there's population growth. There's also going to be real estate appreciation and development, right? So these are just before and after pictures of towns, sorry, cities that these are mega cities that across the world that are big, so you can see when you was just a desert, but now it's fully occupied. You can see Cape Town when it's just like a hilly, state. It's a rocky state. You can see that it's now Nairobi is just like a swampy area. That was inhabited by village people, like villagers, right? But now you can see today. So Accra there and Accra now. So if you if you look at all these cities, that there's a common denomination, you know, to their development, and this is just which includes infrastructure, trade. There was influx of infrastructural activities in there. Sorry, infrastructural development rather. There was influx of trade into the, so there'll keep being influx of expansion of cities and also need for houses. So these are before and after period like of top cities across the world, right? So you can see that um, investing in real estate is never a waste, right? It's never a waste. It's actually investment that you're going to enjoy, you know, for life, right? It's not going to be a waste. So just mind people that own lands here before the advent of um development. Just imagine how their life would be, right? So let's go into Ikoyi to also because of time I won't be going through this, this actually explains the events, the series of events that happened from when they were still and still not developed to when they are developed, right? Sure. So I won't be going into them. The slides will be shared to use to look at them, right? So it's just showing the series of events that happened from um days of the area being underdeveloped to when they are now developed, right? So you can see Old Ikoyi, New Ikoyi, Victoria Island, same thing. You can see Old Victoria Island, New Victoria Island, Lekki, Aja, Ibejuleki, Ekpe, you know. So these are just showing the evolution of cities from state of when they were still in the undeveloped era to when they now became fully developed. And the denomination is population growth. And what leads to population growth? When there is more infrastructure, when there's influx of investments into the area, the influx of job opportunities into the area, people tend to move where good things move, right? So, so now these are just trends in real estate. These are new trends. They are new trends, right? They are new trends in the real estate sector, right? Blockchain backed real estate. So this is just simply means now people can now buy real estate in terms of tokens, right? So instead of you buying them in physical assets, you can buy them in the blockchain area. So token simply means when you're buying it in tokens in the blockchain language, right? So I'm not be able to really explain what that means, but it simply means instead of you owning a physical asset in a whole, it is being decentralized into token into small small bits, right? So for example, now that means you can own probably 25% of a house in Banana Island instead of you owning the 100% of it. So you can own it with other several investors, right? And you can actually own it in a blockchain environment in tokens. So the benefit of this is that, for example, for real estate, it's not liquid, which means that you cannot easily find buyer for it, right? But for when it is in a blockchain environment, you can easily turn it into cash, right? So that means it increases the liquidity of real estate, right? So and it's just a recent trend. People are now going into blockchain black back real estate now. So another trend is 3D printing. So 3D printing is just like a machine that prints houses in bulk, right? So instead of a conventional method of construction, so this machine actually prints in bulk. So I'll see if I can present that video to you so that you can see what I'm talking about. I'll try that after explaining the other threads, right? So smart homes. So this is actually infusing technology into um, right. So for example now infusing keyless entries, whereby you can just open your door with a fingerprint. You can use a remote to control your window curtains in your houses, right? You can talk to AI to help you switch on your lights and all those things. So that's smart home. So it's a trend in the real estate sector in Nigeria. A lot of people are coming up with smart homes right now, right? So there's also what we call fractional ownership. This is synonymous to blockchain, but this is not necessarily in a blockchain environment, right? Because there are now platforms that allow you to, just own a fraction of a particular property, yeah, even without being involved in blockchain, right? So instead of you to own probably a 100% of a plot of land, you can own probably like 25%. So and when it is being sold, you get 25%, of the interest the generated, right? So that's what we call fractional ownership. So now companies are now coming up with avenues whereby you can just, own a property in fractions instead of owning them in whole. So and this is actually aimed at, making it more accessible to people, right? So these are just the trends. So lastly, I talked about in my communication message, yesterday. I talked about some misconceptions and some roadblocks that that are very very dangerous to one's financial life, right? And it's just these are some of it when it comes to real estate. Well, when it comes to real estate market, right? We understand that even though in the other sectors, stocks, bond, forex, there are a lot of scams, right? There are a lot of people that are just out there to to scam people, to just take money from them illegally without giving them what was promised, right? But this shouldn't be a criteria for you to to cancel investments totally, right? Because if you're able to do your due diligence very well, which we're going to be talking about in the next class, your due diligence, what to look out for before investing in real estate, what boxes to tick before you say that I'm putting my money in here, right? So once you do your due diligence, in you just need to be involved in more due diligence. So for having trust in a particular vehicle, whether it be real estate, whether it be it cryptocurrency, whether it be it stocks, that doesn't mean you should now cancel because of past experience or or years, right? Another roadblock is not having enough capital. These are actually, how will I put it, an excuse or a fallacy, right? Because now they are now ways for you to enter into real estate with as low as as low as what you have, right? Even stocks, even bonds, right? Start small, expand big. The mistake we make is that we want to start big. When we do have the financial capability to to start big, why don't we go for smaller investments where we can afford that compound interest and get bigger. So second one is no education through guidance, right? Oh, I don't want to invest in a particular thing because I don't have education. I don't know how to, uh, I don't know how it's run, right? So for this, it's just for you to work with a team, right? Work with someone that you know that knows the terrain. So once you know work with someone that knows the terrain very well, you know, and do your due diligence, you'll be able to invest. So you don't really need to understand it 100% for it to, for you to invest. Just work with a professional that will guide you and put you through and make you sure you invest successfully in a particular vehicle, right? So this are a few of the misconceptions and roadblocks, right? That more I put it, that stop people from investing, and also very destructive to one financial, because if you do not invest, you are destroying your you know your adding money, your income, right? Yeah. So this is just what we're talking about today. Tomorrow we'll be looking at what how to enter into the game, how to play the real estate game, right? So tomorrow is what it uses. I actually implore you not to miss tomorrow. So now I'll be opening, questions for floor for questions now, right? So ask me whatever you want to ask me, and I will be here to, to answer your questions, right? Accordingly. So thank you very much for staying till now. I know it's been a very, very long journey. This is 1 hour 30 minutes, or 1 hour 32 minutes rather. Wow. Thank you very much. I will be expecting your questions now. Yeah, so that I can attend to them.